Sometimes, life gives you a single moment, one impossible choice that decides who you really are. For Keisha Williams, that moment came on a stormy Tuesday morning, the day she was supposed to take the exam that could change her entire future. A scholarship, a nursing license, the one chance to escape poverty, to finally make her mother proud. But fate had other plans. The rain came down hard as Keisha ran through the narrow streets of Southside, clutching her worn backpack to her chest. Her shoes splashed through puddles, her heart racing with each step. She was late. Again. "Come on, Keisha," she muttered under her breath. "You can't blow this." At the next intersection, traffic screeched to a stop. A sleek black Rolls-Royce stood at the center of the chaos, its hazard lights blinking. Then Keisha saw it. A woman slumped over the steering wheel. Her hands trembled. There was blood on the glass. People stood around, recording with their phones, but no one moved. Keisha froze. She could still make it to the exam. The testing center was only 6 blocks away. But then she heard a faint sound, a moan. The woman was pregnant. Her belly, huge and rigid, rose and fell with shallow breaths. Without thinking, Keisha dropped her backpack and ran toward the car. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" she shouted. No response. She yanked the door open. The metallic scent of blood and perfume hit her all at once. Her skin was pale, clammy, her lips bluish. Blood pressure collapse, possible preeclampsia. Keisha's training kicked in. "Hang on, okay? My name's Keisha. I'm a nursing student. I'm going to help you." Her voice was steady, confident, even as fear clawed at her chest. She dialed 911. "Pregnant female, approximately 28 weeks, severe preeclampsia symptoms, elevated blood pressure, placental complications likely. I'm keeping her in left lateral position to optimize flow." The dispatcher's voice crackled. "Ma'am, help is on the way. Stay on the line." Keisha pressed a hand to the woman's wrist. Weak pulse, rapid. She checked her airway, breathing, circulation. Time slowed. Then the woman whispered something, a name. "Eleanor." That was all Keisha needed. She tightened her grip on the woman's hand. "Stay with me, Eleanor. You don't dare quit on me." Moments later, sirens wailed in the distance. Keisha's hands were trembling now, but she didn't stop. She tore off her jacket and folded it under the woman's head. Her own shirt was soaked in blood and rain. Then, flashing lights. Paramedics rushed in. But as they took over, one of them frowned. "Who are you?" "Keisha Williams, nursing student. I called 911. The paramedic glanced at her ID badge, then at the chaos around them. "You shouldn't be here." She wanted to argue, but before she could, another voice cut through the noise. A man, tall, expensive suit, furious expression. "What the hell is going on here?" Keisha turned. The man stormed toward the ambulance. "That's my wife," he shouted. "What happened to her?" The paramedic stepped forward. "Sir, please stay back." But the man wasn't listening. His eyes locked on Keisha, dripping wet, covered in blood. What did you do to her?" Keisha froze. I helped her," She collapsed in the car." He glared, disbelief etched in every line of his face. "You helped her? You're not even a nurse." "Sir, I was trained." "Save it. I'm calling the police." The paramedic tried to intervene, but the man was already on the phone. His words echoed in the storm. "She assaulted my wife. She's pretending to be a nurse. She almost killed her."
Keisha's mouth went dry. Her hands shook as she backed away. That wasn't true. None of it was true. But when the police arrived, no one asked questions. They saw a drenched black girl in ripped sneakers and blood-stained clothes, and they saw a white man in a $1,000 suit pointing at her. That was enough. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us," one officer said. Keisha tried to explain. "I was helping her. Check the 911 call." "Ma'am, hands where we can see them." The cuffs were cold. The rain was colder. As they led her away, she looked back. The woman was being loaded into the ambulance. Alive. That was all that mattered. But Keisha's heart still broke, because she knew what this meant. She'd missed the exam, her scholarship, her future. Hours later, sitting in a holding cell, Keisha stared at her reflection in the metal wall. Her mind kept replaying the moment she'd made her choice, that single heartbeat between ambition and compassion. Did she make the right call? The officer finally opened the door. "You're free to go. Charges dropped." She blinked. "What?" He shrugged. "No idea why, but apparently the victim's family declined to press charges." She walked out in disbelief. The sky had cleared, but her heart was heavy. She'd done the right thing, but doing the right thing had cost her everything. Days turned into weeks. She tried to move on, taking extra shifts at the diner, caring for her sick grandmother, studying in stolen moments. But whispers followed her. "That's the girl who got arrested. She faked being a nurse. She nearly killed that woman." No one cared about the truth, only the headlines. Then one night, a letter arrived in the mail. No return address, just her name, written in elegant handwriting. Inside was a single line. "You saved more than one life that day. Meet me, Ashworth Foundation, Monday at 9 a.m. She almost didn't go, but something in her gut told her to trust it. Monday morning, she arrived at a marble building that looked nothing like the world she came from. The Ashworth Foundation. The name was familiar, one of the biggest medical philanthropy groups in the country. A receptionist led her into a glass conference room. Sunlight streamed across the polished floor. And then, the door opened. The woman from the car stepped in, alive, radiant, smiling. "Hello, Keisha. You don't know me, but I owe you everything." Keisha's eyes widened. "Mrs. Ashworth?" "Yes, Eleanor Ashworth." She walked closer. "You saved not only my life, but my son's. The doctors said if you hadn't acted when you did, neither of us would have made it." Keisha's throat tightened. I thought you didn't even know who I was." "Oh, I knew. My husband filed that complaint, but he won't be doing that again." Eleanor smiled sadly. "He thought you were trespassing, but I saw what you did. The ambulance's dash cam recorded everything. You were extraordinary." Keisha didn't know what to say. "Tell me," Eleanor continued, "why did you stop that day? You had so much to lose." Keisha hesitated, then whispered, "Because I couldn't live with myself if I walked away." Eleanor nodded slowly. "That's exactly the kind of person I need." Keisha frowned. "Need?" Eleanor smiled. "Come with me." She led Keisha down a long hallway, past framed photos of hospitals, clinics, and relief teams around the world. This foundation runs dozens of medical programs, community clinics, mobile units, scholarships. But what we need most are people with heart. She stopped in front of a door marked Emergency Response Training Wing. Eleanor turned to her. "You have the heart. Let me help you find the rest." Keisha's eyes filled with tears. "I don't have money. My scholarship." "You have something better," Eleanor said. "You have purpose. And from today forward, your tuition, your housing, your future, all covered. Consider it an investment in the kind of nurse the world desperately needs." Keisha couldn't speak. All she could do was nod as tears spilled down her cheeks. That moment, that single act of compassion that cost her everything, had just opened a door she never knew existed. But what Keisha didn't realize yet was that her journey was far from over. Because where there is light, there will always be someone trying to put it out.
When morning light broke through Maya's curtains, it didn't bring peace, only pressure. Today was the hearing, the day her entire life would be dissected by people who had never once stood in her shoes. The city courthouse towered over her like a monument to judgment. Cameras swarmed outside, reporters shouting her name like she was already guilty. Maya took a deep breath, clutching the photo of her father in her hand. He had been a police officer once, one who believed in justice. She whispered, "Help me stay strong, Dad." Inside, the air was heavy. Every seat was filled. Half the room wanted her punished, the other half wanted her freed, but none of them truly knew her. At the front, the Board of Inquiry sat in a straight line, cold, professional, distant. Detective Larson, her former partner, was already there. His face twisted into that smug little grin she used to ignore. Now it made her stomach turn. As the session began, the lead investigator, a stern man with gray hair, leaned forward. "Detective Maya Brooks, you stand accused of assaulting a superior officer and leaking confidential information. What do you have to say for yourself?" Maya's throat tightened. "I did what I thought was right. I stopped an illegal operation that was hurting innocent families, and the man I struck was the one running it." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Cameras clicked. Larson shifted in his chair but said nothing. The prosecutor, a young, ambitious woman, stood and smirked. "So, you admit it. You hit your superior." Maya didn't flinch. "I defended myself when he threatened to silence me." "Silence you?" The woman raised an eyebrow. "Detective, you've been accused of paranoia. Do you have proof of these so-called threats?" Maya's hands trembled slightly. "Yes, but they were destroyed. The files, the footage, all of it. Someone made sure of that." The prosecutor chuckled. "Convenient." The board members scribbled notes. Maya could see how they looked at her. Another emotional officer who couldn't handle the job. It was the same look she'd gotten 100 times before. Then Larson took the stand. He straightened his tie, put on that calm, rehearsed face, and began. "Maya Brooks is unstable. She's been obsessed with conspiracy theories about the department. I tried to help her, tried to reason with her, but she attacked me instead." Maya's jaw tightened. "That's a lie." The lead investigator shot her a warning glance. "Detective Brooks, you'll have your turn." Larson continued. "She's been showing signs of erratic behavior for months. Missing files, late reports, emotional outbursts. It's sad, really." The audience whispered. Some looked at Maya with pity, others with disgust. Every lie Larson told stacked another brick against her. When it was finally her turn to speak again, Maya stood slowly. She didn't look at the board. She looked at the people in the room, the officers, the press, the citizens who came to watch. "You all think you know me," she began softly. "You think because I raised my voice, because I fought back, that I'm angry, emotional, unfit." Maya's eyes filled with tears, but her voice didn't break.
But you don't see what happens behind those closed doors. You don't see the files that vanish, the families that disappear, the officers who retire early because they knew too much. She turned toward Larson. You don't see the monsters hiding in plain sight. The room went silent. Larson shifted in his chair, smirk fading just a bit. Maya stepped closer to the panel. I didn't become a cop to be a hero. I became one because my father believed justice meant everyone mattered. And now the same system he gave his life to protect is protecting people like him. She pointed at Larson. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. The judge slammed his gavel. Detective Brooks, you are out of line. But she didn't stop. He runs a network that covers up police brutality cases. He takes money from private contractors to bury evidence. I have witnesses, people too afraid to come forward because they know what happens when they do. The lead investigator frowned. Do you have any proof of this, detective? Maya hesitated. This was the moment. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat. I had it, but someone deleted it from the department's servers. The prosecutor grinned. How convenient again. Just when it seemed like all hope was gone, a man in a brown hoodie stood up from the back. That's not true. All heads turned. The man pulled off his hood. It was Officer Daniels, one of Larson's former team members, the same one who'd been transferred months ago after questioning Larson's actions.
He walked to the front of the courtroom. She's telling the truth. I've got the files. The room erupted. Cameras flashed like fireworks. Larson's face drained of color. The lead investigator stood. What did you say, officer? Daniels handed over a hard drive. I made backups before they wiped everything. Larson's been covering up illegal payments, false arrests, and more. The prosecutor tried to object, but the judge silenced her. Let him continue. As the evidence loaded on the big screen, the atmosphere changed. Emails, bank transfers, voice recordings, all connecting Larson to corruption, blackmail, and the very operation Maya tried to expose. The audience gasped in disbelief. Larson's mask shattered. He stammered, This is a setup. She planted this. But his voice shook. The confidence was gone. The truth was out. Maya closed her eyes, tears slipping down her face, not from sadness this time, but relief. The weight she'd carried for months was finally lifting. When the hearing ended, Larson was escorted out in handcuffs. Maya stood in silence as the board deliberated. Every minute felt like an eternity. Finally, the lead investigator returned. Detective Brooks, he said, his voice softer now, you've been cleared of all charges. Effective immediately, you are reinstated with full honors. The crowd erupted in applause. Reporters rushed forward shouting questions, but Maya didn't stay. She quietly walked out, stepping into the fresh air that suddenly felt like freedom. Outside, Daniels caught up to her. You good? He asked. Maya smiled weakly. Getting there. He nodded. You did it. She looked up at the sky. We did.
When the hearing ended, Maya walked out of that courthouse into a wall of flashing cameras, microphones shoved toward her face, reporters shouting her name, begging for a quote. But Maya didn't say a word. After everything she'd endured, the betrayal, the humiliation, the fear, it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about truth. And truth didn't need a press conference. It just needed to be seen. As she reached her car, she paused for a moment. Across the street, she saw a mural, one of those community paintings with faces of people lost to injustice. She spotted one face she recognized, a young boy named Elijah. He'd been wrongfully arrested 2 years ago during a protest, beaten, and then quietly forgotten in the system. Maya had tried to reopen his case back then, but Larson shut her down. Now she realized why. She stood there, staring at that mural, feeling the wind brush against her face, and she whispered, "This isn't over. Not yet." A week later, Maya sat at her desk again, this time in a small office downtown, surrounded by cardboard boxes, old computers, and a whiteboard covered in names. But it wasn't the police department anymore. It was something new. A logo on the wall read, Project Reclaim. It was her new mission, an independent task force she'd started with Officer Daniels and a few brave former cops who'd walked away from the system. Their goal was simple: expose corruption, protect whistleblowers, and fight for families the system had forgotten. The first day they opened, the phone didn't stop ringing. Mothers, brothers, ex-officers, community leaders, they all had stories. Some too painful to hear, some too familiar. Maya listened to every one. She didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. She just listened, because she finally understood what it meant to be heard. One afternoon, she got a call that changed everything. It was from Mrs. Grant, the mother of the boy in the mural. "Detective Brooks," the voice trembled, "they told me you might help me find peace." Maya's heart ached. "I remember, Elijah," she said softly. "Come by tomorrow. We'll go through everything." The next day, Mrs. Grant came in with a small, worn box. Inside were her son's belongings, an ID badge, a phone, and a tattered notebook. Maya opened it carefully. Inside were pages of Elijah's handwriting, his thoughts, his fears, his dreams. On the last page, he'd written, "If anything happens to me, tell the truth. Don't let them bury it." Maya swallowed hard. He knew. He knew they were coming for him. Daniels looked at her. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," she said, closing the notebook, "it's time to tell his story." Over the next few weeks, Maya worked tirelessly. She met journalists, investigators, and legal teams. Using the same network that once tried to silence her, she now amplified voices like Elijah's. And soon, Project Reclaim wasn't just an office. It was a movement. Everywhere she went, people began wearing badges with Elijah's initials, EG. They stood for every generation. Because this fight wasn't just about one boy or one officer. It was about breaking a cycle that had lasted for generations. Months later, Maya found herself back where it all started, the police precinct. Only this time, she wasn't walking in as a defendant. She was walking in as a guest speaker. The chief, newly appointed after Larson's arrest, greeted her respectfully. "Detective Brooks, thank you for coming. We've implemented your recommendations. Transparency protocols, external review committees. It's a new day." Maya smiled faintly. "Let's hope it stays that way."
She walked into the briefing room. The young recruits looked up from their seats, curious. Some had probably heard her name whispered in the halls, maybe even as a warning, "Don't be like her." But now, she was living proof that standing up for what's right isn't career suicide. It's courage. She stood before them, hands steady, voice calm. When you wear this badge, you're not just protecting laws, you're protecting lives. Don't let anyone convince you those two things are different. The room was silent. Every word landed heavy, real. She could see the spark in a few of those young eyes, the same spark she once had. Maybe this time it wouldn't burn out. After the speech, as she walked outside, she saw something unexpected. A little girl holding a handmade sign. It read, "Thank you, Detective Maya. You made my brother proud." The girl's mother smiled through tears. Maya crouched down and hugged the child. "No," she whispered, "he made me proud." That night, Maya sat alone at her small office desk, the city lights flickering beyond the window.
On her wall, beneath the Project Reclaim logo, hung a framed photo of her father, and beside it, Elijah's mural. She closed her eyes, listening to the hum of the city. For the first time in years, it didn't sound hostile. It sounded alive. Daniels knocked softly and poked his head in. "You still here?" She smiled. "Just finishing up." He grinned. "You ever stop working?" Maya chuckled. "Maybe someday." He stepped inside and placed a folder on her desk. "You should see this. The department's opening old cases because of us." She opened the file. Inside were names. Dozens of them. Families about to get closure. For the first time, the justice system wasn't turning its back. It was turning its gaze inward. Maya looked up at him. "Then I guess we did something right." Daniels nodded. "You did something bigger than right. You started something." Later that night, Maya took one last walk through the quiet streets. The same streets she used to patrol, now echoing with the sounds of laughter, music, and life. The same streets where people once looked at her badge with fear, now looked at her with hope. She stopped at that mural again. It had grown. New faces, new names, all painted with care and love. And right in the center, someone had added her father's face, smiling proudly. Maya's chest tightened. She reached out, tracing the paint with her fingertips. "Rest easy, Dad." Finally, justice found its voice. As she walked away, the camera of life panned back, the city glowing beneath her, alive with second chances. And in her voice, we hear the truth she'd fought for all along. Sometimes standing alone feels like losing, but in the end, doing what's right never makes you weak. It just takes time for the world to catch up. Moral: when you stand for truth, even in silence, your courage becomes someone else's voice.